I want to thank you guys for coming tonight. It really means a lot. Take part of your nights, come to Tzniut, dedication to learn, to better ourselves, to become better partners in life. Last week, we discussed a little bit of Yirat Shamayim, Tuvat Lev, goodness of a heart, that a woman or a man shouldn't be angry or mad at something, or depressed, or stubborn. Rather, a woman should be more passionate and have feeling towards one another, and with that connect and bond to a better relationship, to a greater journey together for the rest of their lives. This week, I'd like to discuss two main topics: Kibud Horim, honoring one's parents, and Tzniut, by both a man and a woman. And a little bit we'll discuss about financial. Financially, that a man and a woman should discuss things before they actually go on a date. Not really them, rather their parents should talk about who's going to pay for what, when are they going to pay, if they're going to support the boy and the girl for a year, for two, for the rest of their lives. That should be pretty set before. So to going back to the first topic, Kibud Horim, the Chazon Ish held that one of the things that has to be spoken about very clearly right at the beginning is to see if the woman, if the girl respects her parents. Because when a woman respects her parents, it shows that she's a God-fearing person and that she has good character traits. Now I'd like to explain, what does the Chazon Ish mean? And how far does Kibud Horim take a person in his day-to-day life, and for sure for the journey for the rest of his life? And what's the impact? And what is the greatness that ad kidei kach, that if one doesn't have it, rather drop it and move on? Many times in life we see people outside respecting one another. Whether it's at a carnival, whether it's at a concert, whether it's at a wedding, we see parents sitting down for the meal, and the son or the daughter, depends if it's a mixed or separate wedding, they come and they say, "Ma, what would you like to eat?" Or if it's the boy, by the boy section, "Daddy, Pops, what would you like to eat?" Before they worry about themselves, they worry about their parents. So one might see it and he'll say to himself, "Wow, that's a son-in-law that I want for my daughter. That's the chatan that I want. That's the kala that I want for my son." But the truth is, that's not how we pick a chatan and kala. That's not how we judge a person or a crowd or organization, like we mentioned in the previous shooting. Because outside, it's pleasant to be pleasant. But in life, the only way you know if a person is real at the time when no one's looking. In the house, when your mother asks you, "Take out the garbage," and you came back from a full day of work, what do you tell your mother? "Ma, Haj, I'm tired. Another boss? I can barely make it with my boss at work. I want to leave." You couldn't ask Joey? You couldn't ask Rachel? Why dafka me? So the pinpoint of kibud orim or any real midah starts at a point, at a given time, in a situation where no one is apt to testify. That's where it's real. Chazal tell us in Tefillah, Et tzara hi liYaakov umimena yivashea. There will be a given time which sorrow will go to tragedies one after the other. There'll be a depression. There'll be darkness. But only from there will come salvation. What does that mean? Only from darkness could you see a light. Could you see Kiner mitzvah b'Torah or? When is a ner mitzvah? When is our actions, which are like a candle, when do they make light? You know when? You know when our Torah makes light? You know when it shines the room? When it's dark outside. When it's dark in the room, then your actions, then when you ignite a fire, you're able to see. And the darker it is, the more you're able to see. But when it's broad daylight, you're learning Torah, everything is Gucci, the stock market's going up, you're making money, you're healthy, your parents have a mansion, they have a yacht, they just bought an ATV, they're flying all around. First class, you're on a PJ, everything's Gucci. That's where you honor your parents. I want to show you, I want to see you on a rainy day when your parents don't have anything. When you come back after a full day of work and your wife or your father or mother or your neighbor asks you for something. Now I want to see you. Now it's the time to prove it that you're a real nice guy. So says the Chazon Ish, when you see a woman who honors her parents, that shows that she will honor you. That shows that she's real. It's legit. She internalizes those actions. And it makes her to a different person. And the same is true regarding a guy. The guy is not at home so often. More the women are. Whether it's helping the mother cooking or cleaning. But even the guy, it's true. We find in Parashat Vayichi a beautiful lesson about Kibud Orim, honoring parents. We all know the famous Maaseh with Yaakov and Yosef. Yaakov Avinu, he asked Yosef at Tzaddik. Hey Yosef. He asked Yosef at Tzaddik, Yosef, go look where your brothers are at. Go find them. He didn't get instructions where to find them. Can you imagine in the middle of a desert? Go look for your brothers. You think Yosef had binoculars? He had a microscope? You think he had a phone? A satellite? You think he had a GPS, Waze, a location, pin drop? Huh? He didn't have that. You're in the middle of a desert. You know what you see in a desert? Sand and the sun. That's it. Who is he going to ask? He's going to ask those shepherds. He's going to ask the sheep. He's going to ask the sun. And it says the Midrash, Gabriel came from Shamayim. And he told him, Yosef, don't go. You know what's going to happen? Your brothers don't like you. Your brothers are going to do something bad to you. Why? Because Yaakov loved Yosef and he gave him ketonet pasim, a special garment, which some say it was the garment of Adam Arishon. Adam Arishon. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu made for Adam Arishon. Special garment. It had the reach, the smell of Gan Eden. If you would go back then, they didn't have Jerusalem glad or glamour or pomegranate. They didn't have all that. You had to go. You wanted a piece of meat, you had to fight. Take a bow and arrow. It was a whole process. Not like today. Traps. And you can't hit the animal, you make him a psul. You blemish taref. They kept the mitzvot. It was real hard to go and to make food. Yosef went and he traveled and traveled and traveled. And what happened? He was telling himself, Daddy said I should go find my brothers. I'm going to find my brothers. That was the one thing that kept him going. That motivated him. My father told me to go look for my brothers, although I know a malach min hashamayim came and told me, you're going to get punished. They're going to hurt you. They're going to harm you. You hear? They're going to harm you. What are you doing? Make a U-turn. Tell your father, I heard a message from malach. He didn't hesitate. My daddy told me something. That's it. So be it. And he went, and we all know the story. The brothers saw Yosef, and they said to themselves, Ine bal halomot. This is our younger brother. At the time, our youngest brother. That he had a dream. He had dreams in life. He dreamt big. That everybody's going to bow down to him. And they felt, really? We're going to bow down to our younger brother? That's what he thinks about us? And we all know the story. They took him, they threw him into a pit with snakes and scorpions, which the Gemara says, snakes and scorpions are the only ones that are able to harm without Hashem telling them to harm. And says the Midrash, when Yosef HaTzadik was thrown into the boat, Rek, there's no water. Nahashim v'akravim yeshbo. You know what happened? The snakes and the scorpions ran for their lives. They were afraid. Like the Maaseh in the Gemara. The Gemara says, Rabbi Hanina bint Radion, the Gemara says, there was a snake in the middle of the path. And everybody was afraid to pass by because the snake went and bit anyone who passed by. And he inserted them his venom. And ultimately, it killed them. So yes, the Gemara says Rabbi Hanina got up and he showed everybody a lesson. Although you think that the snake is the one that's killing everyone, but it's really the chet, it's the sins that we do, that's what kills us. And he stuck out his leg and the snake went and bit Rabbi Hanina's leg. And who died? The snake died. When Yosef HaTzadik was thrown into the pit, what happened? What happened was the snakes and scorpions ran for their lives. And after that, what happened was he was sold 4 times till he got to Mitzrayim. And we all know the story of Mitzrayim, that he was a slave to Potiphar, who was one of the high ministers of Paro. And he ended up from there going to jail for 12 years. And ultimately, what happened was, we all know the famous story, he became second to king. Second in command. So what happened? How did Yosef become second to king? Second in command? All from one maaseh of kivud av. You hear? Yosef went. He didn't ask questions. His father told him, go and look for your brothers. Look what ended up happening. He ended up becoming a king of the universe. Yosef ruled over the whole entire Mitzrayim. All because of kivud av. So we see from here, kibud av is the key to success. Kibud av, kibud orim more rightly. More correctly, kibud orim is the key to success, the key to happiness, the key to life, the key to tranquility, the key that opens up every single gate that a man or a woman can wish for is kibud orim. And there's haftacha eluki. God guarantees those who honor their parents, their kids will honor them. Midah keneged midah. All the midot of Hashem are nullified. But midah keneged midah. Midah keneged midah is whatever you do for someone else, Hashem will make them do for you.
So what if, let's say, a person, like a child, okay, he or her doesn't really know, like they go ahead, they disrespect the parents for many years, okay? And unfortunately, let's say the parent passes away, does a person have to go ahead now, like he asks for mechila, but he disrespected the parent for many years, does he get mochel for going ahead and asking for tshuva but only after?
Of course. Not only that, Yosef. The greatest kivud avayim a person could do is dafka when his parents pass away. Because now is the time where they need you the most. The Gemara says, Bna kar'ad avua. The Gemara says, the kids of the father, it doesn't literally mean the kids. It could also mean the children of the parents of their legs. What does it mean of their legs? They're crippled, chas v'shalom. In Olam Haba, the status that you came to in Olam Haba, you stay at. You cannot become elevated in the next world if you did not work on yourself over here. The way a person acts in this world, that's the way he will act in the next world. The Zohar HaKadosh says, if a person passed away as a chutzpan, a disrespectful person, even in Shamayim, when God is going to give him musar, he's going to tell him, you messed up, say sorry. Said the Zohar HaKadosh, he will be disrespectful also in the world to come. Even when they'll punish him and give him pain and even kill him, they'll revive him and it'll be the same chutzpan. The Gaon Bivilna says, the way you come out from this world, that's the way you will be for forever, infinity. A person passed away lazy, he'll be lazy in the next world for infinity. The only way you could actually help your parents, if you haven't helped them until now, is by showing them right now you're going in the ways of the Torah. You're learning Torah. You pray for them. You learn from them. You do mitzvot. You're more tzanua for your parents. We'll speak about Tzniut in a couple minutes. But I want to tell you something. There's no greater mitzvah of kibbud durim than learning Torah. The Ben Ish Chai writes down B'Shem Zohar HaKadosh. When we say Kaddish on our parents, Lahan 120, after 120 when they pass away, there's two effects. The first effect is we first take them out of Gehinnom and we put them in Gan Eden. And after, we elevate them from one place in Gan Eden to another. If that's Kaddish, where it's only one mitzvah, how much more so if a person learns Torah, which is Taryag mitzvot every second. Yes, it's because you asked me this question, we're going to go off tangent for a moment in the Gemara Rabbi Akiva. It's a very famous story. Rabbi Akiva one day was passing by. He was walking outside the Beit Midrash. And he sees a guy running for his life. He tells him, stop, why are you running? The guy says, Rabbi, I can't talk to you. I have malachim shedim running after me. He says, what do you mean? Who's running after you? Just demons are running after you. He says, why are demons running after you? He says, I was a very bad person in my past reincarnation. I didn't learn Torah, didn't do mitzvot, only went to clubs, ate non-kosher. I didn't listen to shiur. I didn't change from a shiur Torah. All I do is talk stupidity. I didn't care to change. I lived my life like a hefgewelt. Rabbi Akiva tells him, I want to help you. He says, Rabbi, let me explain to you one thing. You know what my punishment is in Gehinnom? Every day, I have to chop up wood, bring it upstairs, and they use this wood to make me into a barbecue. Rabbi Akiva tells him, I'm gozer on you right now to stop. And don't worry, the malachim have to listen to me also because I'm the rabbi here. And he said, Rabbi, I'll stop it, but what are we going to do? You're going to promise me that everything's going to be fine after? He says, yeah, don't worry. I promise everything will be fine. He says, you know how to say Kaddish? He says, no. He says, I'll come and teach you. He sat with him and he taught him Kaddish. The first time he said Kaddish, everything was a lot better already. One Kaddish saved him and his father. One Kaddish. Him and his father. How many Kaddishim do we say every day? How many Kaddishim do we say every day for our rabbis, our grandparents? Every day in Tefillah. People think it's a joke. But this is the key to salvation. Now I want to mention one last thing about Kibbud Urim. Around 70 years ago in the Holocaust, the Germans, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, they came into Auschwitz and they told the guys there, they told all the families, guys, pack up your bags. We're going on a train ride. All the guys started packing their luggage. If the guy was a tailor, he took all the pins and needles and fabrics. If the guy was a jeweler, he took all the diamonds. If the guy was, whatever the guy was, profession, he went, he took it, and he put it in his luggage. But Yosef, there was one father that asked his son, my dear son, my beloved son, I want to ask you something. It might be strange, but I want to ask you. He says, yes, father. What would you like to ask me? Could you please iron my shirt? I said, Daddy, we're going to die over here. What's going on with you? You want me to iron your shirt? That's what you want for me? Daddy, are you all there? You take your pills today? You hear what's going on? Hitler wants to kill us. You asking me to iron your shirt? You Majnun. You ate today? What's going on? Listen to what the father said. The father turns to the son and he says, David, the Torah says, Kabed avicha ve'et imecha lema'an yarichun yamecha. The only guarantee we have for long life in the Torah is kibud orim and shiluach hakim. The kibud orim b'dam ha'havero. That's the only guarantee. He says, son, my beloved son, everyone over here is packaging all their good stuff, all the goods. But I want to give you something that's more valuable. Everyone over here, the money, the cash, the gold, the stock market, whatever you want, you put in the luggage. But no one knows what's going to be tomorrow. The Nazis will take it. Your neighbor might take it away from you. Your best friend might betray you. Your partner might steal it from you. The one thing that nobody can take away from you is Torah mitzvot. Is that iron shirt that you ironed for me. That's the one thing that nobody can take from you. He said, Daddy, if that's what's going to make you happy, that's what I want to do. And he went and he ironed the shirt with love and passion. And of course, they got on the train after an hour or two. And they all went with the Nazis, Yimach Shemam v'Zichram. And you know what happened? This guy made it out. He made it out of Auschwitz, out of Gehinnom, on planet Earth. And he got to Eretz Yisrael, to the promised land. And he built the whole entire family. And his kids got married. And he gets up in front of the whole entire family. And he says, guys, all my friends, our whole family in Auschwitz, everyone got wiped out. The Nazis killed them. But the one mitzvah that saved me, the one mitzvah that because of that I'm here to tell you this story, is the shirt that my father asked me to iron for him. As we move on in life, we miss those opportunities. But as long as we have parents, don't forget the lesson of the iron shirt. Don't forget the power of kivud avaim. And that goes even when they pass away. There's so many shirts that you could iron them in Olam Haba and give them arichut yamim in Olam Haba and give them kavod in Olam Haba. When Yosef HaTzadik is in Mitzrayim and Yaakov passes away, the brothers come to Yosef and they tell him, they're talking to each other. Oh, now it's payback. That's it. Now for sure, Yosef is going to pay back everything that we did for him. What does Yosef tell his brothers? Atem chashavtem alay l'ra'ah. You thought bad towards me, but God thought good towards me. You thought that I'm going to damage you, but why would I damage you? The very reason why I'm sitting here is because Hashem told me to respect my father. And because I listened to him, this is where I got to. So why would I hurt you? The Chovat HaLevavot writes down that what we think is bad for us is really good for us. What we think is horrible, is degrading, is humiliating, that is the greatest for us. If God takes away something from you, He knows that you're capable to live without it. Because if you're worried, He wouldn't take it away from you. Because tzaddik v'yashar hu. There's a famous mashal that a king tells his whole entire nation. Guys, I made a castle, 200 floors, 200 flights. Whoever can get to the top will get $5 billion. Of course, who came? All the machos, 6'5", 6'6", all those guys ripped, 8-pack. The guy goes play basketball every day, swimming, athletic, L Park, G Park, Batich Park. And at the end of the day, the guy works every day. He's working out, wakes up 6 o'clock in the morning. All those guys, 6 o'clock in the morning, he eats 15 eggs. The white part, not the yellow. And then he eats, he drinks Gatorade. A gallon of Gatorade. The red one, not the orange, the red one. And all these stuff, he has a whole list. What he eats every day, when he wakes up, bench presses 250 and you do 15 pull-ups like this way, that way, sideways, all the types. Can't come a group of 5 machos, these guys. 200 flights? What is that? It's nothing. It's nothing. The first one gets up, he starts running. 10 flights, 20 flights, 30 flights, 40 flights. Huffing and puffing, 50 flights. He pushes 60, 70, 80. Ooh, he's feeling the eggs from the morning. 90 flights. Kaput, guy drops down. He calls, as a break, the guy's done. 90 flights, go 9 stairs. He told me 9 flights. 90 flights, the guy goes up, and 90 flights, the guy is done. He cannot even move an inch. There's a phone over there. They call it's emergency. They come with a helicopter. You think you're going on 90 flights? With a helicopter, they got to pull a string. They pull him out the window. Yalla, next. Who's the next opponent? His chavruta. The guy does the same thing. He also runs. He says, I want to be smarter. I'm going to walk slow. Take my time. After a half hour, I start running. And then a little faster, slowly build the stamina. I get to 80, 90, probably 100. I could continue. He also 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 85, 90, boom, same spot. That's it. Done. And the third guy, and the fourth guy. The whole entire group got to 90. That's it, done. They're not able to. Everybody gave up. Then comes an old guy with a cane, 90 years old. And he says, what's going on over here? Everyone tells him, the king said, whoever gets to the 200th floor He gets $5 billion. And we're trying to figure out how to get to the 200th floor. All these guys, strong, built, healthy, they only got to 90. The guy says, what's the problem?
Take that.
What elevator? Anyhow, they go. The old guy goes. 10 flight takes him an hour. 20 flights. 30 flights. It was slowly. 40 flights. He gets to 90 flights. And by 90 already, he says to himself, I can't do it. I thought I was strong, but I can't do it. And then he says to himself, wait 1 second. There's a catch. If the king said it's possible to get to the 200th flight, it is possible. Because the king, he wouldn't test you catch 22. Huh? Because no point in the test. If you're going to fall anyhow, there's no point in testing you. What's the point of the test if you're going to fail? If God put me in this test, I could pass. So what happened? The old guy, 90-year-old, takes his cane and he's dragging himself 1 more flight. And by the peak of his eye, he sees an elevator. All of a sudden, he rejuvenates himself. Well, he gets up and runs to the elevator. He clicks on the button, 200. 20 seconds later, he's out of the elevator. He takes his cane. He starts to wave it on top. Tells, hey, bring the helicopter. I'm not going down 200 flights. They bring the helicopter to take him. What's the point of this mashal? If God puts you in a situation with no matter who your parents are, no matter the situation you're in, if God put you there, He knows you're capable of doing it. If that's within you, you'll make it out alive. You'll make it out successful. You'll open up every single gate in Shamayim. I want to say a couple more ma'asim of Kibud Orim. Esav HaRasha was known to have the most Kibud Av in the world. Kibud Av, Esav HaRasha, up to the point where his head fell down and rolled into Me'arat HaMachpelah. Guys, what is Me'arat HaMachpelah? Yakut Ma'am Lo'ez says, B'Shem the Zohar HaKadosh, that the Me'arat HaMachpelah is the entrance to Gan Eden from this world. And that's why Avraham Avinu wanted to be buried Dafka in Me'arat HaMachpelah. All our tefillot go through there. And when Avraham Avinu was involved, it goes straight up. And who got buried there? Esav HaRasha. You know why? Kibud Av. Where does Kibud Orim take a person? There was a guy who went on a date with a girl. One of the dates, he came a little early. And he said, you know, I'm not going to go into the house. I want to see what's going on in the house. He hears a lot of screaming, backing and forth. Daddy! Daddy! Why did you tell my Khatan the first time he came? You asked him a million questions. Ma, don't get involved. Talk to Daddy. Who do you think you are? And the guy heard this. He knocked on the door. The girl opened the door. He tells her, Baruch Hashem, I came a little early. I don't want to go out with you.
That's mean.
Huh?
That's mean.
It's mean, but it's a reality.
Yeah, but it's on the spot. You can say the next day.
Huh?
You could give her some courtesy and do it the next day.
You heard what we said in the beginning of the shiur?
Well,
It wouldn't be a question if you heard. Kibud Orim starts from the house. And if you can't respect your parents, then who says you're going to respect your husband?
Or your wife. the end of the day, it's your future. If you go ahead, you gotta go ahead and make sure that the person you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, you have to make sure that that person is for you, and that it might sound rude to that person, like you just said. It's like it sounds rude. It's very blunt, but at the end of the day, it's your future. You gotta be blunt with your future. If not, you're just gonna have people step over you. You don't want that. Especially, you don't want to live to live a life where you have to go ahead and you just didn't have the confidence to deal with the mistakes at that time. You have to just go ahead, make the tough decision, make the tough choice, and just go ahead and move on. You have to tell them in the best possible way, just, okay, I need to move on because I don't see it working between me and you. Next, that's just the way it needs to be. It's not, you're gonna feel really bad if you go on a date all the time, you're looking for that one girl, and all the time you have that one thing, you're telling girls that, no, I don't want to go like this because of that, and it hurts you all the time to just go ahead and just tell them that. It's going to be very hard for you, but at some point you just have to tell them the truth, give it to the way you can, and it's going to hurt. Don't get me wrong, it's going to hurt.
It has to be said in the beginning, because if it's not, like Yosef said, it'll keep on repeating itself.
He's 100% right.
What it means to get married is literally you're going ahead now. I choose you for all your pros and all your cons. That's literally what getting married is. It's you're going ahead. You're telling yourself, you know what? I can live with this.
Accept the
because
full package.
you accept the full package.
Yeah, but if the guy was hearing everything, why couldn't he just go the next day and go respectfully when she doesn't have a lot of it?
First of all,
That
he put her in check. First of all, it's a story.
Oh.
You have to take it literal. But the point is that in Yiddish we say it's a kasha on the ma'aseh, meaning you don't ask questions on a story. Because the next story can be different, you know. It doesn't have to, the story is not life. But since you asked the question on the story, we'll give you an answer. Joseph told you a beautiful answer. We don't have to add on to that. Internalize those words. You get very far in life. But the point that we're making is the whole part of the shiur of Kibud Dorim, the first part is that whatever's in the house, that's real. The way a person acts from within, that is legit. Many people think, when I get married, you hear me? When I get married, I'll be a different person. I'll wake up on time. I'll respect my wife. I'll be responsible. I'll be on time. I'll wake up for shacharit. I'll wake up for arvit. I'll wake up to learn. But the truth is, none of that is true. It's all false. You know why? Because yesterday, whatever you planted, that's how you're going to work. That's how you're going to be today. You can't plant a tree after it's planted, after it's rooted. And if that's the way you're talking to your parents who brought you to this world, how are you going to talk to your wife who just is continuing the middle process of your journey? Although it's a new journey, but at the end of the day, if the parents who brought you to this world, who did everything possible for you, you can't respect them, how are you going to learn to respect your wife? They once asked the Stipler HaKadosh, they asked him, what does a bachur need to go out on a date? So he said 3 things. He said, one of the things that he said was, he has to have Torah midot, and he has to be straight. Sechel yashar. He has to have Sechel yashar. He's able to see through things, to understand from things. So, at the end of the day, they asked him one thing. They asked him, if the guy learns Torah, of course he's going to have Shlom Bayit. Of course he's going to know how to respect his wife. Of course. So if that's the case, why does he need Sechel Yashar or Midot? He has Torah. Of course, if he's learning Torah, he'll have Midot. So listen what the Stipler said. This answers your question. He says, When a person learns Torah in the Bet Midrash, who's he learning with? His stender, with the table and the book. The book will never tell him, you're ugly. The book will never tell him, I'm sick. The book will never tell him, I don't want to be with you today. The book will never tell him, you're annoying. That only a human being can tell him. So yes, the Torah says, the Gemara says, the Torah softens up a person, but up to an extent. He needs musar at least a half hour every day. The Chafetz Chaim writes down. At least a half hour of musar every single day. And who learns musar today? I need musar. I give you musar. Everybody's about musar today. You can't give ta'ah today. Nobody wants to accept anything today. Everyone's a smart aleck today. Everyone's their own rabbi. How do they say in Israel? Ish be'emunato yichyeh. They took a pasuk, they took out some words, they made a remix, huh?
Yeah,
I don't know, remix, a surgery. They cut off stuff. Ish, the pasuk says tzaddik be'emunato yichyeh. They said ish be'emunato yichyeh. They opened up a Bet Yaakov, a school. What do we say every day in the morning? Bet Yaakov, lechu v'nilchar be'or Hashem. What do they open up in Israel and Tel Aviv? Bilu. What's Bilu? Bet Yaakov, lechu v'nilchar. Or Hashem they forgot about. And we go, whatever we want, we go. Bilu. What's Bilu? Only if you pray every day, you know what's bilu. It's basically you take whatever you want, whatever you don't want, you throw out. You think it's Chinese. You want the white rice or the fried rice, the chicken you take, the other things you leave. Life is not Chinese. The way you cook your food, that's the way you'll eat it. The way you prepare your bed, that's the way you'll sleep in it. When you work on yourself today, tomorrow, there's a good chance, not 100%, a good chance you'll be a better person. But if today, and the past 20 years, you don't know how to shut your mouth when you're in a Shiur Torah, if the past 20 years, you don't know how to wake up on time, you don't know how to learn, you don't know how to appreciate, give gratitude to God, respect your parents. So what makes you think tomorrow when you get married, if you get married, the woman must be she has to be blind or deaf to go out with you. If you can't respect someone, or you're just putting up a game, a show, many people do that. I want to tell you a crazy story. It happened in Israel. There was a guy that got married with a girl, and he had a boy. And after, guys, the Yitzhara is working hard today.
Yeah.
He's screwing a lot of screws. Anyhow, the guy got married, and they had a boy. And he got divorced with his wife. Divorced his wife, whatever the reason was. And there was a woman that got married to a guy, and they had a girl. And they also got divorced. So they came to the rabbi, and the rabbi says,
Thank you.
Baruch Hashem, it's done. Anyhow, they asked the rabbi, what do we do? The rabbi said, perfect shidduch. Let the guy and the woman, they have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, let them get married. So they got married. Around 15 to 18 years later, the boy and the girl, they grew up together, right? They know each other, right? They went to the rabbi that they both have. Rabbi, what do we do? We need a zivug. He says, I don't understand. You grew up with your zivug. She could be your zivug. Your stepsister. What's ich? It's not his sister.
I thought you're not supposed to marry a stepsister.
What?
Rabbi, you can't marry
Shneimah, what does it say?
Rabbi, you can't marry your stepsister.
What?
You can't marry your stepsister.
Money, think before you talk. Anyhow, the halacha says you're allowed to marry your stepsister. You hear? So he says marry your stepsister. Or at least go out with her. At least, find out if it's shayach bichlal. There's chemistry. The guy went out with his stepsister. They ended up getting married after 4 dates. Within a couple months, they got married. L'chaim. They got married. After a full year of living with her, he comes back to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, I thought I knew my stepsister. I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't even know my stepsister. I grew up with her 20 years. I don't know anything about her. Says, what do you mean? Explain. Even I'm overwhelmed. I have no clue what you're saying. He says, I grew up with her. I looked at her different. And she looked at me different. We knew each other, but we didn't know each other. When I got married, I knew the part that I knew at home. But the other part that she always covered, that I never knew. And when I got married to her, it uncovered. And it took me a full year to recognize that. So for all the chilunim that they're with the girl or the girl's with the guy for 2-3 years, we gotta get to know them. We don't know each other. We were Haredim, 3-4 dates. In America, 14 dates. We gotta get to know the guy. I don't know him. The truth is, you'll never know. You'll never know the boy, and the girl will never know the guy, and the guy will never know the girl, unless you get married. When you get married, then you'll know exactly who you married, and she'll know who she married. And then they'll find out exactly what they went out with. The next thing I like to talk about is tzniut. Tzniut, modesty. Let's start with tzniut. What is tzniut? What does it mean to be modest? Many people think modesty means the way you dress. If you cover your elbows for the girl, you cover your knees. So at the end of the day, that's the simple meaning of modesty. You cover the elbows for the woman, and you cover the knees for the guy, for the woman, sorry. And yes, sir. And
Isn't that right?
there's also tzniut for a guy, but we'll talk about that after. Anyhow, for the woman, you cover the knees. Yeah, and girls, you should know, covering the knees is not enough. Because when you sit down, the skirt goes up. So it has to be a couple inches over the knee. So even when you sit down, it's still tsanua. Now, wait. We didn't talk about just the beginning. Also, it has to be the top. You have to cover your bone, your collarbone. Tsanua, it's tzniut.
For a guy, to call him the collarbone.
Why did I say for a guy?
I didn't hear.
Woman. Now, for a guy, it's a different shoe. But what's relevant to both the guy and the woman is tzniut in the peh, in the mouth, tzniut in the machshava, tzniut in the eyes, tzniut in the ears, tzniut in your legs and your hands, and I'll explain it. What do I mean? Tzniut is a very big topic. Depth and length. Tzniut, modesty, is not just the way a person dresses. Yes, it means a lot the way a person dresses. It's not the first page on a book. It's probably half the book, if not more. The way a person acts is the other half of the book of who he really is. Who he really is. Or who she really is. The way a person thinks. He's not thinking about doing something bad. He's not thinking about another woman when he's dating her. Or she's not thinking about another guy when she's dating him. Or not thinking about bad thoughts of what to do to someone. Some guy told me he went on a date with a girl, and it ended up being the girl's sister. They pranked him. So he said, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm also going to prank her. What did he do? He went to the beach. He tells her, wait over here. I'm parking the car. And he drove off. That is not a healthy mind. That's the opposite of being tzanua in your mind. 1 second. Now, tzniut, in the way you walk, to where you go. Some people walk around and live as if they own the world. Gava. Humbleness shows tzniut. Shows yirat Hashem, yirat Shamayim. Tzniut is in everything. Literally everything there is tzniut. It's very broad and very depth. And you define to yourself which level you're holding on. But the way a person talks, the way a person walks, the way a person thinks, you could go on the history of a man, although it's deleted. But on YouTube, or on TikTok, on Instagram, even if you delete certain things, it's built in already who you like, right? Many people think the only way to find that is to check the history. But I'll tell you another secret.
iCloud.
Check. Guys, listen to the end. Next time we'll put you over here, we'll have to see what you have to say about iCloud. Anyhow, don't tell us your secrets also. Anyhow, how do you check a person? With the way he talks. The friends that he has. That's how you know. Where he sits in shiur. That's how you know who the guy is. If the guy's sitting in the back, usually he's not interested in shiur. He came to eat his sushi, look on NBA stats, what's going on. Or the guy will see where's his friends so he could have a conversation. He could tell him what he went through the whole entire day. But the shiur is the only time that he has to vibe with his friends. That's the only time. Some people come to shiur, the boys are going to be there. I got to go. He tells his wife, he's married, Shana Rishona. Honey, I have a shiur Torah. I love this rabbi. She tells him, what did you learn from the shiur? Don't ask, I had a stomach ache. She says, you had a stomach ache? For an hour and a half, you had a stomach ache? Knowing you, after 5 minutes, you're back home. How'd you stay there for an hour and a half? I got stuck in the bathroom. She says, honey, I know you a little better than that. A little better than that. And she finds out exactly. A woman has sensors from here to Shamayim.
10 senses.
She can tell you exactly. Today I went to Holy Schnitzel.
You know everything.
Listen to this. Today I went to Holy Schnitzel. And my mother calls me up. My mother calls me up. Listen, Yosef. My mother calls me up. She asks me, Yossi, where are you? I didn't want to tell her I'm in Holy Schnitzel. She'll probably tell me, come home, I have food, come eat, this, that. But I didn't have time. I don't have time. I have a shiur Torah to give this, that. I have to go in and out. Whatever, anyhow, I waited a half hour there till it came. Anyhow, she tells me, Yosef, you're very, very sensitive. Your stomach is very sensitive to food that is made outside. Make sure, wherever you're at, she tells me already, you're at a food place, right? You're ordering food. I'm like, Eva, I gotta go. I gotta go. Ruach HaKodesh, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
The answer is, it's not Ruach HaKodesh.
It's a gut feeling.
Your mother knows you so well. Just from hearing your voice, she can tell you where you are already. What'd you eat today? And if that's your mother, kal v'chomer your father, Hashem.
Let's talk more about women 9 times.
And at the end of the day, tzniut. That's what defines a person at its core. When a person's tzniut, the way he talks, the way he acts, the way he asks his questions, the way he sits in shul, when he's talking to Hashem, when he prays, it's tzniut, b'achna'ah. That is kovea. What's going to be with him? That makes up the person's life. And a person should know, when you go on a date, yes, the girl might be more tzanua than you. She might be more of a tzaddikat than you. Don't say, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want it to be someone greater than me. Because a lot of times, if she's the one that's greater than you up to that point with so much, you won't be able to handle her.
Or it's a reflection of yourself.
What, that you see that she's so great, that means you're so great? No, you know that you're not great. So I'm not talking about the case where we had tzaddik. I'm saying that was the case, right? But it's a good point for a different lesson. But at the end of the day, the Gemara the Gemara says that someone who marries a woman, we mentioned it earlier, he should check her brothers. Because most of the brothers are what? Very similar to the girl.
What if he has nothing like?
She has no brothers?
No, what if like you're nothing like your brother? Yeah.
Oh, in most cases. What if she had no brothers? If she don't like her brothers? And Ustamazli, you should just know, Jonathan, Kol klal yesh yotzeh min haklal. To every rule, there's an exception to that rule.
What do you do with a girl, for example, if she has brothers that are like totally not religious or even bad influence potentially?
So, in that case, you hear what David asked?
No.
You know what you didn't hear.
Just talk to me.
Of course. Did you want to repeat your question again? It's not fair, but
I
we'll
know
do
what
it
he
anyway.
said, Rabbi.
No, ask David. Shh, guys.
But shidduch date or any kind of date, if let's say she has siblings or family members, very close family members, who are like off the religion or even a bad influence.
Great question.
Is she religion?
So
She's religious.
So before we answer the question, I'd like to continue one more point and we'll get back to the question. Because it's really talui on this. The Gemara says about Betra, a person should look at the girl's brothers. And there's a machloket rishonim between the Meiri and the Rokeach. Because there's another Gemara. The Gemara says a person should marry Bat Talmid Chacham, the daughter of a Talmid Chacham. So what's more important? Bat Talmid Chacham, a daughter of a Talmid Chacham, or where the brothers are Talmidei Chachamim? So it really is not so clear. It's not so clear. La lacha, what do we do? But either way, I'll just tell you something that's logical. If you find, now we first have to understand why it's so important the brothers or the father should be Talmid Chacham. So the rabbis explained to us that there's a mentality. In the family, there's a mentality. Every person has a mentality. But that mentality really rubs off his parents, or his brothers, or his sisters, or his surroundings. Now your brothers, they grew up with you, let's say you're 20 years old, they grew up with you 20 years. So the way you act is really a reflection of the way they act. If your father Talmid Chacham, you see every day when he walks in, he greets your mother. Hi, honey, you look beautiful today. The food was amazing. So slowly, you internalize those words and you become a sweetful person.
Product of your environment.
Exactly. That's where it comes from. So, So what happens? This Gemara is teaching us a lesson for life that we have to internalize when you go out on a date or any journey in life. That when you want to go out to get a partner in life, make sure they were brought up in a good surrounding. That is the general rule. But then comes David's question. Yeheb ben Tzniut? What is David's question? David asks, what happens if you find a gem between a bunch of thorns? Which is Shoshana ben Achuchim. Shlomo HaMelech asked it already. What happens if you find a gem amongst other dirt? What do? Shlomo HaMelech tells us, you take the gem, you polish it, clean it up, and take it for yourself. You find a person where he grew up with his parents and his shayim, his brothers and sisters, each one has a case in jail. They all have a record. Bet Mishugayim Patuach. Every person over there is messed up. You're the most positive guy, you're looking at them. Where's the good over here? You knock on the door, you see the parents. One time I knocked on the door at a date in Brooklyn. Won't mention the family's name. I knock on the door. The brother opens up the door with a wife beater. Says, yeah, how can I help you? Sorry, got a tank top. Okay, my bad. He opens the door. I'm busy. I'm about to say it. He opens the door. Says, "Yeah, how can I help you?" Says, "I came to take your sister on a date." Okay. Says, "Come in." Says, "I come in. I'm about to leave. I come in. I'm about to leave over there." The brother's like, "Dad, what am I gonna do?" But don't like I'm scoot. Maybe the girl's different. Okay. I go. What happens? I see the mother, and I hear the shower running. So I ask the mother, "I would like to greet your husband." So I'm my husband. He's in the shower. He's in the shower. He's taking a shower now. So I said that the brother is wearing a tank top. No tzitzi, nothing. I don't know. Barely wearing a kippah. The father's in the shower. Okay, let's give it a shot. What happens? I get in the car. I don't have an iPhone. I want to take the girl out to Conrad in the city. So either I have a GPS, TomTom, whatever, old-fashioned one, or I should ask the girl, usually she has an iPhone, maybe put the Waze. Now before, I took my sister's iPhone, just in case. Maybe she had tzaddik, she doesn't have an iPhone. Okay, she says, "Yeah, don't worry, I have an iPhone." I put the iPhone in, connect to the Bluetooth, and what do I hear? Goyish music. I hear Goyish music. I'm like, okay, this is strike 3. What do I do? Go around the corner? I had to go on a date, but whatever. You understand what happened after. But at the end of the day, this is how it is. You check before. You won't end up after disappointments. That's why it's important. It's very important to check before. The brothers, the sisters, the whole family. The Ashkenazim check who the great-great-grandmother was in Auschwitz. That's exaggerating, right? But I'm saying the point is that they check very thorough. Very thorough. Listen, ad kama that you're able to do. Now, one second, guys. Doesn't mean that if you find a beautiful girl with midot tovot, or a gem of a guy, a diamond, handsome, good midot, responsible, he's totally the opposite of his whole entire family. So then you give it a shot, or give her a shot, and give him a shot. But at the end of the day, this is a more general rule for day-to-day life. Not everyone is like that. Yes, to every rule is an exception. But it doesn't mean that every guy you go out with, or every girl you go out with, you look at the whole family, they're a bunch of wackos. Ah, this is the gem. Why? Because she looks beautiful. Or he has a nice car. Some guy, he took his friend's Mercedes. Every time he went out, he goes, the first day he came with a Mercedes. The second day he came with a Bentley. It's like, wow, you're high rollers. It's nothing for me. They finally get married. He comes with a Toyota Corolla. She asked him what happened. Like, I stopped getting unemployment. It's like, really? 15K was the first car. What unemployment? It's like, the truth is, you gotta play the game. It was my friend's cars.
Should be the opposite, right?
Huh?
Should be the opposite.
What? He went from
First date.
Yeah, you should have came.
First you go with that, then you go up with that.
when you're playing the game. When you're playing the game, usually you don't think straight.
Yeah, but he played the game wrong.
That's the point.
A lot of people play the game wrong. A lot of people play the
So-
game wrong.
One last thing is that this will end, is that it goes coincide together, is to check the health of the man or the woman that you want to date, and also the wealth, health and wealth. Usually when you go brachat to a person, you give him briut and osher, health and wealth. Now, although it's two different things, and one is not usually mashpia on the other. Meaning, if you have health, that's enough, and if you have wealth, it's a bonus, not vice versa. Over here, what we're talking about is that when a person goes on a date, he should make sure that the money situation is already spoken about between the parents. If you want to go out on a date with a girl, or a girl wants to go on a date with a boy, make sure it's spoken about before
If
about
it's
the
a
money.
first date, no one's gonna go asking like, hey, how much money do you make?
So the shatchanim, not you obviously.
I know, but I'm saying like you're not gonna start talking about getting married if you don't even know where it's going from the beginning.
Right, but what I mean to say is like this. What I mean to say is, very valid question. What I mean to say is that a man and a woman, before they go on a date, why build on something when potentially it could break? You would never go to work if you know the boss is not going to pay you money. But you never worked, right? So that's what I mean. Meaning potentially, before you go on a date, make sure that this family is capable of b'chal making a l'chaim, making a avar. I'm just gonna end off with this story, and then I'll take a couple questions. There was a guy. This is one rabbi who writes it down in the Sefer Let Mitzvah. He says, I remember in yeshiva. This must have been like 50 years ago. He says, Stephen. He says. Around 50 years ago, he was in yeshiva, and his friend, one of his best friends, calls him up. He says, I want to invite you and 14 boys, 13 boys, together 14 boys, to my vart. What's a vart? A vart is, it's like the l'chaim, like the engagement. But the parents come and they speak it out before, and once the parents, after all the dates and everything, now it's finalized, the parents got to speak about it. Once they spoke about everything before, everything is finalized, you're able to go and move on. What happens? These 14 boys come and they see that it's taking a while. Usually when the parents come out of the room, they make a l'chaim, they start singing. What happened over here? What happened was 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. The bachurim, in general, when they're waiting for a long time and it's a vart, what do? They start singing. Semen tov, in ve'agef, and all singing, this and that, everybody's dancing. What happens? They see the boy after a half hour walking out of the room. He's very sad face. His face is purple. They asked the chatan, they asked him, what's going on? He says it broke. He says, why did it break? Because of money. Now I want to tell you something. I have a cousin, second cousin in Israel. She's a shadchan. She told me, in Israel, before a guy and a girl go on a date, the parents speak before. Because unfortunately, there's so many tragedies, where the boy and the girl goes out on a date, and they fall in love with each other. Whatever love means before marriage. But anyhow, they feel like that's the perfect one for them. And she feels like the same thing, and he feels the same thing, and they feel good chemistry, and everything's working out. Imagine 8-10 dates. Imagine over here in America, 20-30 dates. And you want to marry him. And then you come to financial issues. What happens? If you're a big ma'amin, big bitach, you have a lot of bitachon, emunah, not just in that, in everything in life, you'll drop the money, you'll move on in life. And Hashem will give you, one second, Hashem will give you atzlacha, much atzlacha. But most people are not holding there. And it's not proper just to jump into it if you're not holding there. Because then you will come to ask greater questions and fall into greater depressions.
So wait.
So one second, before you ask, your sister has another question. But anyhow, the point is that these things should be spoken out before. Obviously, a man and a woman should not speak about it before because nothing to do with you guys. It has to do with your parents. Unless you're the one that's financially making the wedding. But up until then, you should make sure. Now, how do you make sure? What are you going to go into this account? And the white pages? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So what you do is, you could speak to the shadchan or the rabbi that they go to, the shul, stuff like that, and you could tell them more or less what the guy financially has money, this and that, enough to make a chatuna. Baruch Hashem today, even if you don't, there's smachot.com, there's this one.com, that one.com, there's this chesed anytime, whatever. You have chesed all over the place. So today it's not such an issue. It's not such an issue. But even that it's not such an issue,
It's an issue.
it is an issue because at the end of the day, you don't really want a chesed foundation funding your wedding because you're going to get the basics. You're not really going to get what you expected. Right? Every girl has a dream day. She already planted exactly who's going to be the singer, who's going to be the flower girls, what flower they're going to throw the petals and this and that, and what's going to be on the floor, what's going to be this, what's going to be that. A girl could tell you detail from today till tomorrow exactly what she wants.
Yep.
And if he doesn't get it, there's no wedding. You have to wait. No, this, that. No. It has to be this. It's fine. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure everything is pre-planned, because if it's not, you will get into a lot of pain. And I'm not so sure young people at this age are really able to get out of this pain, because that's already like you dug yourself a grave, and there's very, 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 very little hope that will take you out of this. Very little chances. So it's best always to prepare yourself before. A smart man thinks 10 steps ahead. If you're not able to think 10 steps ahead, at least think one, or at least take advice from others that could see way past you.